Hello and welcome back to your free IELTS tip here at CEC with me, Richard Wilson, giving you a free IELTS tip every week to help you. What is that? That's a bar chart, right? A bar chart. This tip for this week is for IELTS Writing Task 1 and how to improve your score. What do they ask you to do? Write an essay by selecting, reporting, and comparing information from a graph. Graph looks like that, like a bar chart, right? So this tip is gonna show you one of the great things you can do to help you write better. What does IELTS really want from you? Well, they want two things. One, they want you to show an ability to select and report important information. Select and report, right? And number two, they want you to show an ability to compare one thing against another or compare one thing against a whole group of things. Call these compares, right? Select, report, and compare. When you think about that, if you think about English, how are you going to do that? Well, adjectives are the difference. Why? Well, adjectives are how we describe something. And adjectives are how we describe how something is different from another thing. There's three different kinds of adjectives in English. We have talked about this and I have given you many tips before, right? Regular adjective, comparative, and superlative. Let's look at this example. High, higher, highest. Higher than, yeah, don't forget the than. And the super adjective, highest. We talked about this last week and actually a couple weeks before that in one of our other IELTS tips about how to use super adjectives. Let's look at the other examples. Low, lower, lowest, few, fewer, fewest. So adjectives are the key to writing IELTS Task 1. But how do you use them? What is a tool? What is something you can do that will help you when you're trying to write an IELTS Task 1? Well, we're going to talk about that today. So let's get a sample and something we can work with. Okay, so this is from IELTS 7. And this talks about coffee and tea buying and drinking habits in 5 cities in Australia. You can see on the left-hand side, right, that's the percentage. That's a noun, we can use that. And then we've got the 3 variables at the bottom. Went to a coffee shop in the last 4 weeks, bought instant coffee in the last 4 weeks, or bought regular coffee in the last 4 weeks in these 5 cities. What do we got? Melbourne, Brisbane, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we've got that bar chart. How do you use the adjectives? I created this for my IELTS students at CEC to help them improve. We call this a writer's table. Basically, it's notes. Whoa, where'd that go? Bring that back. There it is. A writer's table is, they do what you tell them to do, right? Select, report, and compare. That's what they ask. So create this table in a notebook to practice when you look at a bar chart. And then all we do is we fill in the information. So there's 3 steps. Step 1, select the smallest or the biggest thing on the graph. Right, that usually becomes your subject, the percentage of this big thing. Number 2, select a verb. This becomes your report, right? Select a verb and then use a comparative if you can, but select a verb and continue the sentence with data. Like here, right? The highest percentage of blah, 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 bought. There's your verb. Bought coffee at a cafe with an average of 58%. That's your data. So step 1, select the biggest or the smallest thing, the largest or the smallest. Step 2, focus on the verb and report what happened. What did they do, right? They bought coffee at a cafe. 3 steps, right? Step 1, select the biggest thing. Step 2, use the verb and then report the information. Okay. Step 3, select the opposite of the first one, right? Maybe it's the opposite, either the highest or the lowest, the opposite of the last one, and write a short note or comparative sentence using a compare adjective, like less than, fewer than, right? Lower than. Here we have a sentence here, right? In contrast, less than 39% of all residents bought fresh coffee. Now look at this, right? Step 1, select the biggest or the lowest. Step 2, report with a verb and data. Step 3, compare, contrast against the opposite of the first thing. And here you have this table, and all we do is keep filling in information. Just keep putting in information, right? The percentage of people that bought the most coffee, right? At 44%. And look at your table now. Look at, right? That's actually, how many sentences is that, right? It's 4 report and select and report and 4 compares. That's 8 sentences. That's your paragraph 2. Think about how it's organized. Look at that, right? And when you think about it simply, what we did was we focused on an adjective to describe something. So people in Brisbane could have been what you selected, and then they bought what? More coffee than, or they went to more tea shops than, blah, blah, blah. Put the whole thing together. Look at that. It's down there. Look at that, right? It's the same sentences. All I did was move them into, now you can see the whole paragraph and what it looks like. I color-coded some things, the data, the super adjectives, right? Residents bought fresh coffee. Yeah, we can read it over there. It's important to note the comparative adjectives. Fewer than, that's it right there, fewer than. You need to use these if you want to score above a 6. It's mandatory. You really cannot score above 6 on the IELTS if you don't write like this or use super adjectives, comparative adjectives, right? So, come take an IELTS class at CEC and learn writing tips and writing skills like this with me, T.Richard, Teacher Richard. And I promise I'll give you 4 things. Number 1, I'll teach you 4 things. Number 1, how to write better content. Better. Comparative adjective, right? Number 2, how to organize sentences and paragraphs. Number 3, how to develop vocabulary, like comparative adjectives. And number 4, how to improve your grammar. That's it for today's tip. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, I am T.Richard here at CEC Language School, the home of IELTS study.
ตอนนี้เราได้รวมเอา CEC 1 และ CEC 2 นะครับมาอยู่ด้วยกันแล้วนะครับคือหน้าโรงเรียนนานาชาติ Unity Concord นะครับก็ยังคงมีเนื้อหาอัดแน่นเหมือนเดิมนะครับเป็น English Conversation นะครับ English for Kids นะครับมี Math มี Science มี ESL มีชุดเตรียมสอบ TOEIC TOEFL IELTS SAT GED นะครับแล้วก็มีหลักสูตรภาษาจีนนะครับ Chinese Conversation หลักสูตรเตรียมสอบภาษาจีน HSK ด้วยนะครับซึ่งตอนนี้หลายคนก็จำเป็นต้องเรียนทั้งภาษาอังกฤษและภาษาจีนนะครับเป็น Trilingual people แล้ว คน3ภาษานะครับเรายังคงสอนภาษาไทยด้วยนะครับสำหรับชาวไทยและชาวต่างชาตินะครับและแน่นอนครับ Fin Project ก็ยังคงอยู่ที่ CEC กับเรา CEC เป็นที่เดียวในภาคเหนือนะครับ ที่เป็นตัวแทนของฟินในการเรียนหลักสูตรปริญญาตรี 3 ปีนะครับจบเร็วภาษาดีดีกรีนอกนะครับ